Okay, wonderful. Thank you, guys. Let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about Tesla Robotaxi program, Tesla as a robotics AI company. So since Friday, when Elon came out and posted a tweet saying that they're going to be doing a Robotaxi unveil on August 8th, there's a number of other little nuggets, little breadcrumbs, little announcements that came out. So there was a number of job postings about this prototype vehicle tester that's being, a number of locations. This is apparently a job opening that's been around for a while, but there's just a lot more of that happening now. There was a job posting for a data center, a first of its kind data center that was posted recently as well. Tesla themselves posted a tweet saying that they've now hit 1 billion miles of FSD driven. And then Elon copied and forwarded his master plan part two that he wrote 8 years ago. And in that, it actually says that, that in that master plan part two that he wrote, he said that we expect that worldwide regulatory approval will require something on the order of 6 billion miles. So for today at 1 billion miles, and if you look at just the last few months, of course, with the 1 month free being offered, that shot up, steep rise. So 1 billion, when do we think we'll hit the 6 billion? Some people think maybe the end of this year, some people think next year, but regardless of what's happening there, it's coming up really, really quickly. Then we had this yesterday, Elon was in his space. He was talking about how fast hardware is progressing, how fast software is progressing. And there was a post that was showing that the H100s that Meta, Facebook, previously known as Facebook, was way ahead of everyone else in the number of H100s that they have. Elon replied saying that is not correct. That Tesla would be number two, and that X and XAI would be number three in that table, because in that table it showed that Tesla, in terms of the number of H100 computes, was going to be number six. And then he also clarified again sometime last week. He said that Tesla's FSD and Robotaxi, that the investment in training compute, gigantic data pipelines, and the vast video storage will be well over $10 billion cumulatively this year. This is Elon confirming that the amount of money that they're spending, possibly not just Robotaxi, but AI in general, is over $10 billion cumulative this year. And then he pointed out that that's nothing compared to the $250 billion in cars on the road, with Tesla designed AI inference computers being trained by the drivers. That again, with all the cars already out there, don't forget that they have inference compute capability, and that all of this combines together to create a robotaxi. So all these little breadcrumbs, you put them all together, it sounds like Tesla has a fantastic plan, and we'll find out more. So today I wanted to talk about Robotaxi, but I also want to talk about the robotics AI company. So we've got Jeff, Xander, we got Warren, and we got Nick. So let's get started. Why don't we, let's bring up Nick first, and then we'll get to the bulls. Nick, tell me, like you've posted a great post just recently with your, was it 3 grandmoms doing FSD? Tell me what you're thinking about all this.
Yeah, no, thanks, Herbert. Yeah, I think that video, and I pinned it to the top so people could see it on my X handle. But if you go look at it, that's the epitome of this to me. It's the fact that this is my best friend Greg. It's his mother, and I believe her sister, and I think their mother, all in a Tesla, just the three of them, and they engaged FSD, and they were sending him a video of it. But they're saying, "Look at us, we're just three old ladies. We have our handicap, sign everything." But that's literally the epitome of all of this. It's everything that represents, as far as one, the usability, the ease of it, the safety of it, the fact that anybody can figure out how to use this, and if they're doing it right, like you just gotta wonder, like, what does this mean bigger picture, right? Everyone keeps saying that this is something that's not there yet. This is something that's only going to be for us Tesla bulls who are obsessed with this space, and it's just kind of a techie thing, and that's it. But the utility of this is just it's unquantifiable. I mean, I think Xander, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was Xander who posted something the other day about someone's father or uncle or someone who's handicapped, and they're able to use this now to drive safer. And we're just at the beginning of this, right? So I don't know. I don't want to hog the mic here, but I think that people are thinking that it's just a ChatGPT kind of moment thing. And when I say that, I mean more so as a gimmicky parlor trick kind of thing. This is not a parlor trick. This is not just a text in, text out. Hey, look, I wrote my essay, or hey, look, it answered this question. This is going to improve lives. This is going to change the way people are able to do things. This is going to create safety for people on the roads. It's going to create safety for the single mother who has to do a night shift as a nurse and has to tread through the rain to catch her bus. I mean, you just keep thinking about it, right? We're spoiled, a lot of us, in that we don't have these tough ways that we have to navigate the world. But this democratizes and makes transportation just ubiquitous on all levels. So but I think that post just really exemplifies what this means, and just you can see the excitement on their face. It's just joy, and it's fun, and it's amazing, and we're all getting to live through it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Those are elderly, older people, but loving FSD. Hey, Warren, welcome. You're morning your time right now. Any comments on the
5 a.m.
Well, what are you doing up? Welcome.
Woke up.
Welcome. Thank you. Any comments on the intro that I just did, and any new updates that you heard?
Well, no, I raised my hand because of what Nick was saying. I think it's one of the things that people miss about Robotaxi and FSD in general is the common criticism that people will have is, well, I drive better than that. It's like, okay, well, you drive better than that, and I don't need this. I'm not putting my car out there for other people to ride in. It's like, well, and stop thinking it's all about you, and think about all the people in the world that benefit from this in a way that you don't, and imagine a future which is many years away, several years away at least, where a robotaxi ride becomes, let's say, 50 cents a mile. I mean, I think ARK Invest has it dropping to 25 cents a mile, but just imagine 50 cents a mile and picture an 85-year-old who's living on Social Security and doesn't have any extra money. And, it's difficult for them to go places, and all of a sudden, it's difficult for them to drive their 20-year-old Honda or whatever. And all of a sudden, an opportunity becomes available that costs them less than driving their own car and allows them to go places when it's difficult for them to drive. And then there's so many different use cases. Nick mentioned a few, and then a lot of people don't think about, well, what about people in other countries? So I'm sitting here in Thailand, and a lot of young people in particular get around on something called Grab Bike, which is like Uber, but you're sitting on the back of a motorcycle or a scooter. And can the robo-taxi future get to the point where we're taking people off gasoline-powered scooters and motorcycles and giving them a safer, cleaner ride that's, where a young woman doesn't have to grab hold of a strange man, in order to get home? There's so many, and I'm only scratching the surface of the use cases, and I appreciate Nick bringing that point up, because so many of us think, well, I watched that, I drive better than that. Well, it's not about you.
Okay, thanks, Warren. Hey, Jeff, any comments on the $10 billion spend that Tesla's doing, the job posting for the data center, for the prototype vehicle, Tesla's Elon's comment that they're number 2, number 3 in terms of H100s at least. Not sure if that means, compute, anything like that.
Yeah, no, I think there's a number of things. First off, I mean, the cost per mile, a lot of that's going to be market driven and technology driven. I know there's people trying to make an argument it's going to go to a penny or something. I don't understand what that's grounded in. It's going to be, a derivative of supply and demand in that market. So whatever, we'll see how that plays out. I think it's even if it is a penny per mile, which is ridiculous in my opinion. It's still, I think, roughly half of Tesla's revenue today in auto. So it's a big addition. But if you multiply that by 10, you multiply it by 50, you see it's a fairly big. Get rid of it. Fairly big input. The compute side is really interesting. And to me, that says that Tesla has a home and has the need. And it's interesting that one of the things I've been looking at in this whole race or ramp up of compute is where is the compute actually being put to use, where it has output that's meaningful for consumers, meaningful for companies and consumers, and like the whole monetization piece. And it feels like Tesla is going to be able to make a very sizable dent, if not lead in that. And I think that's one of the reasons Elon wanted to correct the record on, them being actually, number 2 in compute. And I don't know who's ever, tracking these metrics. By the way, I don't even know how they know this type of information, but because it's not public. I mean, Elon knows what he's buying, and if he can correct the record on what Tesla's doing, but and XAI. But I don't even know how some of these other companies even know this information in that kind of detail. But anyway, long story short, they're definitely ramping it up, and it's very meaningful because they're going to use it. They are using it, and it looks like it's a difference between them getting, to several times, safer driving relative to where they are today. So it's, it's going to be put to good use. So I'll pause there.
I thought the graph was straight H100s, so it wouldn't count Dojo, it wouldn't count A100s, and it was Tesla. I think Elon said we bought 10,000 H100 GPUs, and Facebook was reported to be buying 350,000 H100 GPUs. So I think it was a not. It wasn't that the graph was wrong; it's that it wasn't. It was the wrong thing to measure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It just didn't seem representative of it looked like they're way behind, or not ramping up compute at the speed that maybe others are. So he corrected the record. So yeah, it could have been what it was measuring too.
Okay,
Yep.
so a number of signs, right? So first he said we're no longer compute constrained, and then now he clarified that they're spending $10 billion. So that's a lot more than we all thought it was just for AI, right? Any comments on that? And are you guys surprised that that Tesla might actually have more compute than people are giving them credit for?
Well, Herbert, this is Larry. Hi. We have to look at the capital spend. And by the way, this kind of makes a nonsense of the capital spend projections. If they're indeed spending 10 billion in the last quarter or the last 2 quarters, the bill's going to come to be paid this quarter, which means this is going to be a quarter with a fairly significant negative cash flow. So everybody get prepared for, Tesla Q to cackle and send jibes and talk about bankruptcy and so on and so forth. So, we have talked, you and I, Herbert, have talked about the capital budget being significantly larger than Tesla's been prepared to admit in the past. But I think this is where we're going to start seeing it happen. By my reckoning, the capital spend this year is going to be over 12.5 billion. So that's the first thing to look out for. Because absent a fairly significant increase in capital spend, I don't see where the H100s are coming from. Let alone that, whatever they're going to be spending on the Dojo compute center. So I expect that we'll see that this quarter. And given that they were actually brought up operational this quarter, it's quite amazing because this last quarter, it's quite amazing because it generally takes quite a lot longer to get, a data center that large up to speed. So I'm not sure, Jeff. What do you think?
I'm sorry, Larry, I missed the end of that question.
The question is, do you think that they could have got a data center up that quickly if their spend was only in this last quarter for the processors,
Yeah.
for the
That's
GPUs?
yeah. That one's hard to judge in terms of first off, you got to think through like payment terms as well. Like they don't have instantaneous day zero like payment terms on these things too. So it's
Yeah, but the capital spend has nothing to do with the cash payment, right?
yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. I it's hard to say. It really is.
I think the H100 GPUs were not this past quarter. Elon mentioned that they bought 10,000 H100 GPUs, and I thought he actually said that the previous quarter.
Yeah, but 10,000 is not what they're putting into this
No, but
project.
they've been spooling up Dojo for a while. Their cost for Dojo on a per compute basis is going to be much lower than their cost for H100 GPUs because they're not, NVIDIA's getting, I don't know, like 80% margin on their GPUs. So even if Tesla it costs them twice as much to make compute with Dojo, they're still getting their compute for a lot less money with Dojo. I mean, that's a question we don't know. How much does it cost them to build a Dojo chip for the amount of compute they get?
Yeah,
And
well, and even if it's 25% of the price of an H100, the kind of compute that they're talking about, if you look at the graph, the kind of compute they're talking about is an order of magnitude larger than the spend that they're projecting. I mean, literally an order of magnitude. Even if and I doubt that the Dojo chip is a third of the price. I mean, you remember that they're having to pay the capital cost for the initial development of the chip. TSMC doesn't pay that out of their pocket. They pay it out of their client's pocket when they build a bespoke chip. I built a bespoke chip. It doesn't happen like they'll charge you X dollars per chip. They charge you whatever it costs to do the design, whatever it costs to do the mask, whatever it costs to burn the first, umpteen wasted chips. You pay up front.
do we know that Dojo is made by TSMC? Not that, I mean, it doesn't matter. The same thing applies with another manufacturer, but
Yeah. I think it is TSMC. Am I right? Yeah, I think it was TSMC. So Samsung's doing the inference chip. But either way, anybody's going to build a chip for you is going to charge you up front. Now they may get paid late, but they're going to, that's going to come on the financial accounting.
right. And I think the $10 billion spent was cumulative over the history of Tesla, not cumulative over the last 2 quarters. But I'm not, yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at the numbers, if you look at their graph, I mean, it's trivial how much they installed in the first, period of that graph. I don't have the graph in front of me now, but I see it in my mind's eye. I mean, we're in the middle of an S curve right now, and that S curve gets darn steep between now and September, very, very steep between now and September. I pointed that out before. So those chips must be in place now. I mean, those processes have to be in place in order to get operational by September.
Well, I think we're no longer compute constrained means that Dojo is doing significant work. And Dojo is probably growing fast.
Does it have to be Dojo? Can't it be NVIDIA? Which is my understanding of what happened.
I think it's both.
In order to get to the levels that he was talking about in terms of A100 GPU equivalents in the chart that Tesla AI team published however long ago, I don't think they have enough NVIDIA GPUs to get there.
Don't confuse Tesla AI with Tesla. Sorry, yeah, I'm confused. Yeah,
I'm talking about Tesla AI, not XAI.
Yeah, you may be right, Warren, but I don't think that it's going to have a very material impact on the actual cash required.
Right. I don't think XAI is using Dojo yet. I think XAI is using H100s.
Right.
Let's welcome Bradford. Did you have you put your thumb down when you were listening to that? You don't think Dojo's up and running quite yet, or you're just thinking it's all H100s from NVIDIA?
I just think it's speculative to give like full credit to Dojo and not to NVIDIA. I think we don't know.
But I don't think it matters, guys. I don't think it matters. I think as far as capital spend is concerned, the capital spend is going to be roughly the same for a given, processing level. There may be some reduction in cost over time for Dojo, but the capital cost of, building the first chip is gigantic. It makes the cost per chip of the H100 relatively low, because you have to pay, the cost of the mask, developing the mask and then redoing it 15 times before you get it where you want it, is very, very significant.
But they would have paid a lot of that already, right, Larry? Going through whatever fits and starts and getting it to communicate and at the edge of the giant chip and all that stuff.
Yeah, but once they start manufacturing it, then they're paying per chip. So I mean, it's all coming. It's all. I mean, you just don't get that compute power without significant spend. I'm sorry, whether you buy it from NVIDIA or you make it in-house, the spend is very significant. And you know what? The spend comes up front.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's at least 50% up front. What was there a quarter in like third quarter or second quarter last year where they were mysteriously low on cash flow, but we attributed it to something else, and maybe part of the blame would have been on like putting some money down on some H100s or whatever, or on Dojo.
No.
Or I guess that would go into CapEx, right?
Yeah, just look at CapEx. We've had that conversation. The CapEx is what counts. The amount of cash and when it's paid is not material to this conversation.
Okay, since we have a powerful panel here, just let's go through the group here and what are you guys expecting for the 8.8 unveil? Some are saying this is just a prototype vehicle that's going to be unveiled, something that it might, he's not just going to show a car. He's going to have to show that it actually is, being summoned by the app and it's driving autonomously, picks you up and drives. And then some others think that, they might actually even be able to show the whole program already. Not that it's going to be announced anytime soon, but that they'll actually show that they have an app, because this is something that they've been working on for a long time. This is not something that just happened. And then there's obviously those people thinking that he just frivolously, impulsively decided to post that on Friday, and now his team is scrambling to try to get something put together by August 8th. So let's go down the path here. Jeff, what is your thinking of what to expect on 8.8? Okay, and Xander?
We hear a lot about the vehicle, which I think will be revealed, especially since we heard from Franz and that's the vehicle he's most excited about. But I also think that we see a glimpse of the app and I don't know if it'll be rolled out, but I think we see it and start understanding what the business model looks like. I think that's important for Tesla to disclose and showcase how Wall Street, and obviously they're not doing it for Wall Street, but how the users can expect to monetize their vehicles. I don't know if that actually, like, I give that 25%. But if I was going to speculate, that's what I think. I believe that you should have a way for those early adopters to continue to believe in what Robotaxi means. I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of.
that's fair.
I'd love to see the app.
Okay, Warren, what's your expectation?
Sure. So first of all, I think you have to think about, why does Tesla do events like this? And the primary stated reason for doing events like this is hiring, to attract great engineers and sell them on, this is what we're doing to change the world. Come join us and help us, accelerate the transition to sustainable energy, et cetera. So I think, I don't think they need to show, hey, we can make an Uber app, right? We know they can make an Uber app. That's not particularly challenging. I'm not saying they won't show it, but I don't think that's the priority. The priority would be, number one, showing something about the vehicle. And I think, go back to Autonomy Day, and Elon laid out the business model for Robotaxi. So I think restating that and maybe updating the Robotaxi business model, the cost per mile at Autonomy Day was, I think, either 15 or 18 cents a mile. The Robotaxi vehicle, amortized over 1 million miles, if it hopefully gets to 6 miles per kilowatt hour, should be able to drive the cost to the owner of a mile, not a paid mile, but a driven mile, to 10 cents a mile. Amortize over 1 million miles, not amortize over 60,000 miles. So I think they may need to explain that bit in order to show the Robotaxi model. If we charge this much for a ride and this is what it costs us per mile, this is what we end up delivering in terms of value, and this is how we transition the world to sustainable energy faster. And then the other thing that I think Jeff would probably be excited about is, I'm guessing they have to, it's half vehicle, half factory. It's probably 90% factory. How are you going to manufacture a vehicle like this at scale? Because the target is 20 million vehicles by 2030, and this is the vehicle that has to get us most of the way there. So what's the, if you want to attract the engineers they need to attract, are engineers who are into manufacturing. This is the secret to getting there. So I think we're going to see a lot about manufacturing. I think Unbox process is tip of the iceberg of what they're going to be doing in manufacturing, and I'm hoping we get to see a lot of that. And that's the type of nerdy stuff that gets engineers to say, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's part of the reason for the event. But I mean, Tesla's. I mean, they're fundamentally changing like their company with this. So at some point, between now and this unveil, or if it's the unveil itself, I really think they need to go through, you know, like what's happening in the auto industry, what's happening, what does it mean for them, and this transition to robotaxis. Well, how do they see it playing out? What's the TAM? And they're like, this is a pretty like significant change. They've been forecasting that, that they're going to build this platform and this ecosystem, and then also probably answer some of these questions too around what does a low cost platform look like, and does it yield multiple products. I think there's been a lot of confusion on that. But yeah, the manufacturing side, I'd be interested to see how much they actually reveal, because if you're not going to be in production for 8 10 months from that point, or 6 to 8 months, I would certainly not be. I mean, you can certainly reveal your approach and maybe some of the key targets you're going after, but in terms of like the know-how, I don't know if they want to keep doing this, because they tend to get copied pretty quickly, especially out of Asia. So, and I think that's one of the reasons it's I think they're gonna want to not reveal like too much of the secret sauce of what they're doing. But yeah, I do think a big part of it is going to be manufacturing. But yeah, I go back to like, this is a new company almost after this announcement. And to me, it feels like there's just going to be less vehicles made in the world, and higher utilization of those vehicles. So how are they going to tell that story?
Xander, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff, and I'm not sure if he stated it exactly, but I think at some point, while Tesla doesn't care about the short-term trader or when you're revealing a new business, I think that you have to, you have a fiduciary responsibility to kind of explain and get investors excited about what you're doing. So that's where I've become kind of bullish on Tesla again. Not that I ever lost it, but my excitement has been renewed because this is an entire new aspect to a balance sheet or a P&L statement that Wall Street will be able to chew on, and I think that there's no other way except to explain it and spoon feed it. Although I agree with Warren's point that you want to get engineers, it is an unveil, and that being the case, they are going to unveil some things.
Okay, let's keep going. Nick, what's your thoughts on what to expect on 8.8?
Yeah, so a few thoughts. I think 8.8 picks up where Autonomy Day left off. I think they probably go back and hit on a lot of the things that they said were going to happen, and they go over how they're going to happen and how they're going to do it. Talk about how, this is where we start. This is how it's going to work. This is what the app looks like. This is what the cities we're going to start in. I mean, I think that if you watch that again, I know a few people posted it lately. Elon actually got into some pretty good details into it. And I think that's what they're going to do again. Honestly, I could see at the very end him saying, we're not always on time, but we always deliver, kind of thing. And I think that'd be a great way to kind of end the whole thing. But I also think we're going to get some surprises. I think we will probably see potentially some alliances, partnerships. Maybe it'll be Ford, their skunk works. I think there'll be something potentially announced. At least that's what I hope for. I think we'll see. Hans made a really great video recently about actually kind of clipping all of the times that Franz has talked about the next gen vehicle, Robotaxi. And I think we'll start to see a lot of what Franz has been talking about in it. So I do think we'll see it. Maybe we'll see more than one form factor. I think that'll be pretty cool. But I think in general, we'll definitely have a better idea of what this can look like, what the model is going to look like. And I think this is going to pull forward more so than what I think people anticipate. I think that they're pretty confident at this point. And I mean, I'm confident at this point driving around. It's literally the only time I intervene is just to say, hurry up, at a stop sign, or, when it's creeping, I'll give it a little extra nudge. But I don't, even with construction sites, I'm in Florida. It's easy driving here. Don't get me wrong. With good weather, great road markings. I mean, it's, people are crazy, but the driving is good. But I think they're going to flesh it out, and I expect them to flesh it out at this point. So I don't think it's going to be high level. I don't think they're going to try to keep a lot of things secretive. The manufacturing part, I do think they'll try to keep that under wraps, because Elon even said recently that people or competition are taking their videos and frame by frame trying to parse it out. But yeah, those are pretty much my expectations. I expect to really have a way of modeling this from the perspective of Tesla and how they see this moving forward. And I think a lot of it will be reminiscent of what we saw during Autonomy Day. And, just like back then they called, LiDAR a fool's errand, and they were right all the way back then, just like Elon was able to say 6 billion miles, and somehow it turns out he might be right, all those years ago. I think we're going to see just a lot of regurgitation of what they said, but with more details and, actual start dates and whatnot.
Yeah, thanks. Hans?
So, we kind of heard earlier this year that there might be an AI day here at the beginning of the year. And so I'm kind of wondering if this is going to be like if Robotaxi Unveil Day is what was going to be another AI day. And at this point, we really should have another version of hardware ready for them to unveil. So I would kind of expect an overall, because if they're talking about robotaxis, they're going to have to talk about AI. And so we should be getting more information just about where Tesla AI is in general. Potentially a hardware 5 unveil, and then yes, at least a peek at all of the different form factors for the next generation vehicle platform, because this is not just going to be a single, two-seater. Obviously there will be something that looks somewhat like the picture that we saw from the Elon Musk biography. It'll be, an updated version of that, but that's only going to be one part of what Tesla does from a robotaxi standpoint. And so I think we'll see really all of those things. I would love to hear more about the manufacturing piece, but yeah, I don't know much about what to expect there. I've always been surprised at what they do and do not share on that front. And I've had a terrible track record of predicting it, so I'm not going to try here. I think those are my main expectations at this point in time.
Yeah, thank you. Larry?
Yeah, so firstly, a reveal means that we have to see the vehicle, and whether we see more than one form factor would be exciting. This vehicle will have to drive itself onto the platform, and this vehicle will also have to provide demo rides with people in passenger seats only, no drivers. I'd love to see the car come out with some sort of joystick or pilot stick rather than a steering wheel, one that can be fitted onto either side of the center column for a left-hand drive or a right-hand drive, so that you don't have to have a left-hand drive or right-hand drive. And so whether it's a robotaxi or a car, it's just a question of whether you expose the stick or not. Since you're driving by wire, there's no need for a wheel anyway. But that's just a personal foible of mine. As far as the business model is concerned, Tesla are normally quite secretive about that. They don't tell you much. They let you discover as they do it. I don't suspect this will be very different, but I think they will definitely show an app. Or they won't show an app. They will probably roll out an addition. I don't think they'll show an app as much as they will probably roll out some additional screens to the existing app for management of cars, and that will be the sort of roadmap teaser for the Robotaxi. I think as far as the business model is concerned, I think that it's going to be less about that than it is about talking about the capability of the Robotaxi network. But I think the most important issue was raised earlier, and that is showing off the production line. My suspicion is that there will be at least some production happening, much as there was for Cybertruck. It may not ramp as fast as Cybertruck, or it may, but I think they're further along than we would think, or will be further along. At least the construction of the main production line will be complete, and we will probably get some visibility into it. Not a lot, so maybe not production, but certainly some sort of prototype capability. So I think that this 8.8 announcement is both good and bad. It's a little bit earlier than I expected. I expected one in November, December. That it's early means that there may not be quite as much production available, but that it's early also is a good indicator that things are going very much to plan. As far as the share price is concerned, I think that we are seeing a lot of excitement. We clearly are seeing a lot of excitement about FSD in the investment community, notwithstanding Gary's feeling that it wouldn't happen. And Gary Black said that it was unlikely that Wall Street would start putting value on Robotaxi. At this stage, I think he's wrong. I think that they have already begun to march towards the date. And a lot depends on the progress of version 12 between now and 8.8. I expect that by 8.8, there will be a general consensus that we are very close to ready, if not ready, to start experiments with version 12 in, say, Florida. So those are my expectations, but like everybody else, they're guesses. Tesla's a marvel at keeping us guessing. The one thing I do disagree with Warren, and I don't disagree with him very often, but I don't think this particular event is a recruiting event. I think this event is a sales event. And it's a sales event not of a car, but of a concept. The sales event is to get the community ready for Robotaxi. So those are my views.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I got a bonus thought for everyone. First, I love Larry kind of envisioned, the car, driving its cell phones. I think that's spot on. I think it has to do certain things and be able to demo, capability. It is a reveal. I think everything's gonna be perfect or done, but it's got to, do those basic things. I have a bonus one for everyone. What if all of a sudden you get in the car and on the main screen you're interacting with Grok and there's both voice to you can have a conversation. You could it's obviously situationally aware. It's it's in that XAI is on this path of getting to somewhere between GPT-4 and GPT-5 capability. So what if that is part of kind of the bonus part of the reveal that no one's expecting?
I love it. Bradford.
Sorry about that. I was about to write a post. So I didn't hear the very beginning of Nicholas's thoughts, but I think one thing where Tesla might do is to make it a bit polarizing, to make the Robotaxi something cool that you want to be pictured with and that you want to be seen in. So I'm hoping that it looks like that picture in the book, and it's kind of funny. If you take the cyber beer and you rotate the cyber beer at a certain angle, it looks like that picture in that book. So it's like the cyber beer might have been an Easter egg for the Robotaxi. So I think Tesla's going to make it cool, make it something that you bare minimum want to try. And I hope Larry's right. I think it'd be good to be more of a sales event. Maybe it'd be too early to kick off the app, but to get people aware of it. An ultimate event would be, we get to see the app in action. Maybe like the event even moves from speaker to speaker, place to place, and you show them using the app and it's working. You show the cars being summoned, all the stuff. Maybe that's a little too complicated. But to show it fully off, I don't think they're quite there yet. I think it'd be extremely bullish if we could see some kind of assembly line or have knowledge around the assembly line. And unfortunately, I'm going to disagree with Xander. I just maybe I have trauma from Battery Day, but what Tesla didn't do is spell things out for Wall Street at Battery Day. I totally agree that Robotaxi Day would definitely argue for them spelling out the business model, but I just don't think they're going to do it. It's a little more nerdy. It's more for investors. It's more for fleet operators, and I don't think they'll cater to large fleet operators at this event. I think it'd be more for the masses.
Warren?
Yeah, I just wanted to hit on something Bradford triggered in me, which is why did Elon focus in his replies on August 8th being and the Year of the Dragon being China related, unless some part of the event is going to be in China? You know, Bradford said they would show it in different places. Well, what if part of the event is the China design team talking about the China version of the Robotaxi? Like maybe it's the American version of the Robotaxi and the China version of the Robotaxi, and they're different. And the design that was in the biography looks cool and I love it, but I think when you think about the target market in America, you've got a lot of people who are 6 feet tall and not in great shape. Trying to get into that vehicle is going to be a challenge. Much less of an issue in China or Asia in general and a lot of other countries, but Americans were tall and fat and not in great shape. So you need a robotaxi that's going to work for Americans, and you might have a different robotaxi for different markets. And why? I mean, that's that question I would ask for everybody. Why did Elon focus so much on August 8th and the Year of the Dragon, which makes it sound like this is a China event?
It's sounding so much like 11.9 again, guys. not going to fall for it. Not going to do it this time.
Some kind of announcement on like China approval for them to go after it, I think would be great too.
That's too much, guys. Okay, Tesla Yoda.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just I've been hearing people talk about like having a joystick and so on. I think probably the interface will be voice. And if you think about when you're in an Uber, if you're a passenger in an Uber, how do you communicate to the driver? You're doing that through voice. Maybe you have a preferred route. You're saying, let's make a right here instead. You're using your voice. If you have a teenager who's learning how to drive, you're on passenger seat. If you need to course correct anything, you're kind of saying slow down, speed up, be careful, or all these instructions are happening with your voice. So definitely there's some interfaces through the touchscreen in this two-seater, but I think voice will be a huge factor. And I think Jeff mentioned that maybe it's Grok or whichever LLM it uses. On top of that, I think Tesla's gonna position for the first time that this is not a car, but this is a robot and obviously an AI product. And so perhaps the surprise will be that there's additional interfaces such as voice or potentially heads-up display type of interfaces whereby as the car is driving, you could see certain things like attractions or restaurants or things pop up that you can interact with that helps you with discovery. So for example, there's a point of interest here and there's a head-up display that shows that, and you can ask the AI for some information, that sort of thing. So I'd be very interested to see what they unveil along with the physical car itself.
Thank you so much, Tesla Yoda. Highlander, did you want to join in?
Thank you. To address the other gentleman's point, I do think they're going to roll it out, meaning automated taxis in China first. And he's correct. There's a huge difference in the height, weight. But if we're all guessing, and it's all guesses, unless you're an insider, the minivan's supposed to be built on the same platform. So I would suspect, trying to stay on theme here, that the American Robotaxi will be more of the minivan platform than, say, the smaller model.
Yeah, that's interesting. But didn't Elon just like a post somebody said that something like 85% of all drives are two people and only so.
It was more than a like. He said it was interesting, and it was 80% of rides are one person, and maybe in the if you had two person rides, you get up to 90% of rides, and then other vehicles can handle the rest. And the Elon said something like interesting analysis. He didn't say he agreed, but he did say it was more than just a like.
I was just trying to address the height and weight issue of Americans versus other countries that have smaller peoples. And if they do build the minivan on that platform, that would address them. Oh, come on, Xander.
It's a good point. It's an interesting point. I do think everybody here, surprisingly, is guessing a little way too much. I think it's a vehicle unveil. It does have to have an app. They're going to show, I mean, they need to show autonomies, and they can do that because FSD version 12.3.3 is already so good. By then, it's going to be even better. They're going to show some sort of demo. I don't think it's a recruiting event. I don't think there's going to be any discussion about manufacturing. I don't think they're gonna announce any dates per se. I think this is just really more about, hey, we have Robotaxi. It's coming in the future. They don't actually have to sell anything, so that's why they're able to do this earlier as opposed to the model, the compact car. That one they can't reveal that until they're really ready to start producing that, at least in some bigger numbers.
So Herbert,
Yeah.
who do you think they're trying to appeal to at this event, and what message are they trying to send to that audience?
Tesla is a robotics AI company. Elon's been saying this for a long time. He's been pointing out that it's actually, the cars are all robots, that the inference compute out there is being neglected, the amount of AI that they have. You know how they've been losing some.
Right, but here's the thing. I suggested that the target audience is engineers that they want to recruit.
Sure.
Xander suggested no. I don't remember if it was Xander. Somebody else said no. They need to sway consumers, let consumers know what's coming, or investors need to know what's coming so they know the TAM or whatever. There's a lot of different opinions about who Tesla's trying to reach. Who do you think they're trying to reach?
So first of all, I don't think it's investors. They don't do that unless it's investor day or shareholder day. I don't think it's a recruiting event, just like Larry was saying. It's always a recruiting event, first of all. But I think that when you're announcing a robotaxi solution, that is not the recruiting event. It's the recruiting event. It's when you're like saying, hey, come work with us because we want you to create full self-driving. Full self-driving is almost at the beginning of the end, as Ashok said. I don't think it's a recruiting event. I think this really is a program that they're launching, he's excited about Robotaxi platform and turning Tesla into a margin subscription business, that it is an AI company. That's what this would be for. But I don't think they're going to be announcing the program and, hey, sign up by 6 months from now, we're going to launch it. They might say something like that. They might go, we're going to launch it, city by city first. But I still am just being very conservative about that. Go ahead, Sat. We haven't heard you.
Hi. Yeah, I think overall, I mean, any event is semi-indirectly always going to be some recruitment because they already have job postings kind of related to it, whether we know if it is or not. The other thing is like people are talking about the design that inside the vehicle. Although voice would be, I would definitely think would be one of the options. When you design anything, you design for the lowest common denominator. So you have to be able to do like, what if someone can't speak English? Then if you do voice, then it needs to be able to understand everything, every language. Like, it just becomes problematic. What if someone's sick and they can't speak? What if they're mute, right? So you'd have to have a screen. So I don't think it's going to be only voice without a screen. I think there has to be some kind of screen to be able to interact with the vehicle. And there's places like that. I was just in Kyoto last week. It's not a town that was built for tourists. And the taxi driver said there's like in his company alone, there's 10 vehicles just sitting there because they don't have enough drivers. So a perfect place for a robotaxi would be there. And the buses had like 100 people waiting for the bus. So even the robotaxi would be usable in certain cities as of today. It would be really, really helpful to even have. So I think that would help galvanize people to even political officials to start looking at, oh, here's this robotaxi program we never heard of.
I'll get to you soon, Larry, but let's change the topic slightly. Instead of just talking about Robotaxi, is this an opportunity for Tesla to then, solidify that we are a robotics AI company? Again, just all the conversation that's been happening about how much compute that they actually have, that this is actually real world AI that no one else is really doing, for them to really solidify that. And then do you think that there's a chance just on this event alone that investors will start thinking of Tesla as a robotics and AI company, or as many keep saying, it's all earnings, man. Until earnings appear like it did with NVIDIA, then nobody's going to give it that AI bump. Why don't we start with you, Larry, and then you have your hand up too.
Yeah, so just getting one thing out of the way. Voice will always be an input. It is right now an input into Tesla, but voice is far away from sufficient. And Sat put it pretty clearly. But not only the problems that Sat raises, the other is the problem of confusion. There could be two voices at the same time giving countermanding instructions in highly difficult situations. So there has to be a primary form of input in addition to the robotic control for override purposes. And I think the command stick or the joystick or whatever you want to call it is ideal because it can be moved in the center of the car from one seat to the other. But and so, I mean, we'll see what happens in there. But you're right. I think this 8.8 is part of repositioning the company. And the repositioning of the company began with the release of 12.3. This is the moment that Elon has been waiting for. He anticipated the moment by some, as always, by some weeks or months or even years, some may say. But he is clearly looking at this as the moment. And I think that there will have to be some outline of the business model. There will have to be some indications about what is possible. There will have to be clearly demonstrations. But this is all about the transition of the company to a robotics company and the transition of the car to a robotics product. And I think your sense of it is absolutely spot on. And the way he positioned 8.8 is all within the context of that, that kind of debate that was happening around, the issue of FSD and full self-driving and when it was coming and so on and so forth. So I expect this is this is going to be a marker moment in the company's history, absolute marker moment in the company's history. And I think Wall Street's going to dismiss it. First week, first month, first 2 or 3 months, it's going to be very dismissive. But I think that while it is going to be dismissive, I think as in previous cases where Tesla have made these benchmark moves, these kind of strategic moves, the knowledge is going to seep out. We're going to have some of the leading, the Dan Ives of this world and talking about it, and I think we'll see the knowledge seep in. So I think this is a benchmark moment. This is going to be a very, very important event. And, I'm very anxious that, they don't ruin the moment.
Do you guys actually think it's going to be in Austin? Some people already bought their tickets and the hotel. Should I be doing that now?
I'm certain it's going to be.
Certain it's going to be in Austin. Why? Yeah. Tesla AI and is all in Nevada.
No, it's going to be in
Austin. If you think about the quote Model 2, it's and not Mexico. True. It's slated to be in Austin first, right? So there you go.
The new building is going to be ready. The new building is going to really be made for this. I mean, they've done a lot of work to get ready for this, and so it's going to be in the new building.
So is there a chance they're going to demo or show off unboxed model?
Yeah, I think that they will have some demonstration. There may be some display of this assembly line, but there will definitely be, show and tell around the unboxed model.
Still trying to understand you, Larry. Some cases you're so conservative, and other cases you're like, whoa, this is pretty big. Okay.
I'm fairly confident. I projected that they would show the model in November, December, and everybody dismissed me and they say, well, they don't show models anymore. They're not going to show them. And I was convinced they would. And when he said 8.8, I thought, wow, they are much further along than I thought they were. That's why I feel so convinced.
Anybody else want to answer the question about is this an opportunity
I
to
just
change?
want to say, let's get our dancing shoes on. Let's go. I'm loving
I mean,
it.
we're definitely
I'll see
going to
you
be
there,
going.
Brad.
We're
I'll
all
see
coming.
you there, Brad.
Yeah. We're all going to be there. We're already planning it.
It's the first hardware that's going to show off the robotics and the Robotaxi and combined with the FSD. So most people, general public, would be able to associate the company with shipped in it by seeing a hardware. Whereas now it's kind of FSD software, so it's kind of in the air for people who, especially don't have the vehicle or has not experienced it.
So Sad, are you one of the people that think that this is more than just hardware, that it will be the full, not a full program, but really demoing Robotaxi platform?
I think it will be. I don't know if it will be realistically done, like be able to execute it today, because I always said it before, like regulatory stuff you have to go through. So I think a demonstration could be done, but I don't know if it's going to be actual execution that's in the real public space that's feasible at this point. But the actual, can you do it? Yes, I'm driving the version 12, so I absolutely think it's possible for a majority of the cases, but you have to go through regulatory stuff and the edge cases.
Okay. Warren, did you want to say something?
Can I just make this observation? I know I've talked too long, but Tesla Road will be done by 8.8. Tesla Road is a road that circles the whole of Tesla, and it all belongs to Tesla. I think there will be demonstration rides in a robotaxi, as a robotaxi, with 4 people traveling or 2 people traveling, whatever the size of car that they demonstrate, and maybe both. And there will be robotaxi rides for everybody at that 8.8 event.
So I had 2 questions that I thought people should address. Number one, I think it will be hardware 5. Do you think it will be hardware 4 or hardware 5 for the inference chip on the car? And number 2, I think the one that they show for the US at least will be a 4-passenger robotaxi, but maybe they'll show a 2-passenger robotaxi for China. I'm curious what people think, whether the vehicle will be 2-passenger, 4-passenger, and what hardware you think it'll have for the inference compute on the car.
I want to jump in because there was a job posting that's referred to autonomous vehicle platform, not just a vehicle platform for unbox that we already knew. So there could be, as some people are saying, maybe 2 kinds of robotaxi that they might demo and show off, not just one.
I agree with that, and just to Warren's question, well, I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little over my skis here. All right, somebody else.
I think it's made one design first. It doesn't make a lot of efficiency if you're making 2 different models of an interior. I think if it's going to be maximizing, I think it'll be 4. I don't think you're going to make 2 different ones at this stage. Maybe down the line, but not at this stage. I don't think they have to make one.
Unless they fit on the same chassis.
Yeah, sorry to disappoint. So Tesla had to choose. I think they had to choose between compact or robotaxi as the next model they work on. So I think we see one model. I'm wondering if we will see an appearance by Optimus at the event and what role Optimus would play. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool.
Let's not get onto that subject just yet, because I think you've just raised a very serious question.
Okay, let's hear
it. There is no difference between a robotaxi and a Model 2. No difference at all. It's the same vehicle. People are getting themselves tied in a knot, as you are now, to say they have to choose between them. They don't have to choose between them. They really don't.
Slightly with parts.
I disagree, Larry.
They have to
disagree.
choose the dashboard. They have to choose whether to put the panels in, the pedals in. They need to choose on displays.
Larry, I mean, I get it's the same unbox model and all that, but the Robotaxi is designed from first principles to be autonomous first. It may not even look like a car. It may not even look like a normal, vehicle. It might have more screens. Maybe this, who knows what this might be, box. You don't know the front and the back. I don't think it's going to look like, and it's going to act like a car. They just took away the steering wheel, and that's not what they did.
I think they took away a steering wheel and they put in a look. I'm prepared to put money on this if people are prepared to bet. Let's not argue with it. Let's just agree to disagree.
I'm not prepared to bet. Sorry, not with you, Larry. You and I have met a few times already. You beat me, so I'm not going to do it again.
It makes no economic sense at all. I mean, the design of a robotaxi and the design of an autonomous car are one and the same design.
No.
I don't think it's going to look anything like a compact hatchback.
I don't think it's going to look like a compact Aztec. You're talking about outside design. The outside design is going to be indistinguishable.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to look like a compact hatchback. I guess we can disagree. Let's move on to Optimus. So, yeah, I think it would be cool if Tesla showed a vision for how the fleet might be handled, and it'd be cool to show the Optimus bot doing useful work, cleaning robotaxis, plugging them in, whatever else it would do as like a fleet manager.
No, it drives up onto the stage, and the Optimus gets out and delivers a package to Elon.
Wow.
So modeling a delivery?
Yes, exactly.
That would be like my dream scenarios. Like we see the vehicle. It'd be awesome if it'd be two, but I'm gonna say one. We see the app. We see the app in use, and we get to see Optimus too. I don't think we'll get all four of those, but that'd be awesome if we did.
Okay, let's hear from A Rider. Mm-hmm.
Alvina.
Bringing up Dimitro. Nope. All right. Anybody else want to, get between the Larry and Bradford and me? Anybody else want to say?
I think that the key difference that I would say, I do think that there's going to be a different vehicle that will be the compact, which is not Model 2. I think the Target, when they came up with Cybertruck, they explicitly targeted the F-150. I think that the human-driven version of this vehicle platform will be targeting the Toyota Corolla, because that was the largest selling, and it may be the Toyota Corolla Cross, which is more of an SUV version. I think for the US market and maybe Western markets, a larger vehicle, SUVs are getting popular globally. An SUV variant is probably more likely to be successful than a sedan variant. So something like a Corolla Cross would make sense. And that are they going to explicitly say, this was the best selling vehicle in the world before Model Y. This is what we need to, this segment, has a much higher TAM. They probably won't use that word. So this is the vehicle we're going to build in addition to the Robotaxi. I don't know.
I'd just like to say, since my mic keeps staying open and I'm trying to close it, I still believe in the model, since I'm sitting in a Dodge minivan, where yes, it's correct. Most people drive in one person's driving one vehicle all the time. But when you think of the word taxi, and I'm older, so whatever, you think more people. And I just can see where on the same platform, all right, you have a mini version and then you have a larger version. And since we've got, 4 plants now around the world, it can be done. I mean, I've been in manufacturing all my life. It's not that much harder to just stretch it out a little bit. Does it cost more? Not really. The interior is going to be the same, but you can accommodate the country or the population where you live. I just think, I don't know. I got a little pea brain.
No, I think you're heading in the right direction. If you look at Uber, they have most of the Ubers are going to be 4 passengers, 5 passengers, and they do shared rides sometimes to lower the cost if you're willing to do a shared ride with strangers. So even though the average isn't 85, 90% is 1 or 2 people, there's still a market for shared delivery. There's luggage, all sorts of potential. So most Ubers have not just a 2-passenger car. None of them have that.
Yeah, like everybody else, I take a lot of Ubers. I choose to get a larger Uber than a smaller Uber when I choose the car that I want to ride in. And the Uber fleet is predominantly larger cars, just for your information. So I don't know about this 2-seater thing. It just doesn't seem, for the US market, reasonable. I think what a reasonable product will be for the US market will be, 4-seater. And the gentleman is correct. The stretching a vehicle using the unbox process is just a question of putting a different battery pack in. I mean, I make it sound simple. It's probably not as simple as that, but that's largely what's involved, because the front and the back, the rear and the front components are just bolted onto the battery pack. So whether you bolt it onto a short battery pack or a long battery pack, macht nicht. It's the same thing. And then finally, Warren, I really don't think there's time for them to do a level 5, the next gen of the inference chip. I think that they're still in the generational mode of the 4, and I think having a 5th would be far too complex this early.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, Dave, welcome.
Hi, Herbert. Thanks. Mic check.
Yep, sound good.
Okay, great. My comment is going to be brief, but it's along more of the fanciful kind of line of thinking. I agree with you that this will likely be the time when Elon says, it's going to be undeniable that Tesla is an AI company after this presentation. There's a lot of time between now and August 8th. And I think he's leaning on his Grok team and his Optimus team. And, Elon's competitive, and he saw that Figure Robot / OpenAI demo video. And he's like, how are we going to turn that into something more impressive than the Porsche 911 on a trailer being pulled by the Cybertruck, beating the Porsche 911? I think he's going to have something like that up its sleeve. And here's my crazy thought, is that he's going to have Optimus. He's going to have more than one Optimus getting into the Robotaxi and the Optimus is going to interact with Grok in the car. Something like, and there'll be a mini conversation like, I need to go, to X warehouse, and all the purchase agreements have been signed, and Grok will go, oh, you mean this place, and estimated time of arrival will be, such and such. I think the figure robot demo also, was an open AI demo, and I bet that kind of got his dander up when he saw that. And I think he's motivated. That's really all I had to say.
Wow. That blew my mind a little bit. Yeah. Bot talking to bot. That would be first ever. That would be very cool. What does the panel think?
Well, I hate to shoot it down, but bots aren't going to talk to each other in human language. They're going to talk to each other much faster with a direct connection over Bluetooth, something like that.
Oh, interesting. Good points.
Agreed.
But I think showing off Optimus, I don't think he's motivated by figure AI. I think, well, if it's a recruiting event, showing robotics engineers and AI engineers, no, this is what a robot really can do. If you come work with us, you can make really cool things happen with robots. That might be a sales pitch.
Yeah, I agree. I
But
mean, I think Optimus will have all sorts of means of communication, including directly with Starlink satellites. But I just thought Optimus will also be able to speak to people, and so will Grok in the car. So that was kind of my thinking along what
Wouldn't
he might
Optimus, my bad,
That's all.
wouldn't introducing Optimus along with Robotaxi be kind of counterproductive? You're trying to introduce a vehicle that drives itself, and then you're going to have a robot in it. None of us doubt the capabilities of either, at least I don't. But to me, I would not launch them at the same time.
well, it's not launching Optimus, but I think if the pitch is this is the Robotaxi future, the Robotaxi future is both taking people from point A to point B, but also delivering. I think if you look at Uber's business, and I think I don't know what the breakdown is, but a big chunk of Uber's business now is Uber Eats, and you got DoorDash. There's a lot of delivery services, a ton of delivery service here in Thailand where 7-Eleven delivers like bottles of water to people's houses. It's crazy. So if you're able to come up with a robo-taxi that can do deliveries, and Optimus to me, it's so obvious that Optimus fits into that story as taking the package out of the car, bringing it up to the front door, ringing the bell, ring and run. It doesn't need to get payment, I think that's probably a huge chunk of the business model going forward. Is that's a kind of service that is it's pretty easy to see that one being attainable in the near future for both Robotaxi and Optimus.
Well, yeah, normally when Tesla does, or not Tesla, Apple does, and these demonstrations, they might have partners come up. Do you think that Tesla will do that? I don't think they've ever done that, but Uber, some people think that there's an Uber partnership that's going to be announced. A big fleet manager like them, or even maybe a Ford or some company like that, which again, I don't think so.
Well,
but
I wanted to touch on that. Just they brought up Ford, if you don't mind me going off a little bit.
Please, yeah.
Tesla's not going to license. Is Tesla going to license FSD to gas cars? The U.S. manufacturers are backing off of making electric vehicles. So if Ford has said we're backing off of making EVs, and I think the first company to license FSD will be BYD because they were already a Tesla partner.
Yeah, others say that BYD is a China company, and so there's a lot of even more, just another four-dimensional issue there.
I would agree. When you start getting into those technical details between our two countries and the relations at the time, I just don't see it happening. But that's one man's opinion.
Okay, and we have Rich.
Hey, thanks so much. I just want to bring up something in case I missed it. To Larry's point, to Bradford's point. If you follow the breadcrumbs, as far as Optimus' contribution, aren't we walking toward number one, an alien dreadnought? If the Robotaxi comes off the unboxed production line, isn't the best way to present Optimus as just doing useful work on that production line? It seems like that would be the coup de grace and really address their primary, first mover, first users would be, the manufacturers who would be looking at that and just saying, there it is. Here's the production line. Optimus is doing its thing.
Well, I don't think so. I think that they're designing a manufacturing line to be super high volume, super efficient, and they explicitly said, I think they explicitly said it in the Q1 in the last earnings call that they're basically engineering industrial robots up, brand new industrial robots for the line. I don't think Optimus is going to be. I don't think you can be planning a manufacturing line with Optimus in mind when you don't know what Optimus can do yet.
Well, Warren, 2 years ago, Tom Jew was up on stage and he said that when Giga Mexico is launched, imagine if 50% or 5,000 are humans and 5,000 are Optimus. He did say that.
Guys, you're both right. The Optimus is not going to be used in the factory on the production line for the most part. It's going to be used in the warehouse, the in-factory warehouse, and the off-site the warehouse on wheels. That's where most of the labor is spent in automated factories today, is moving material to the production line, not on the production line. So I think that's not impossible. That won't be impossible. But the highest and best use of Optimus in the early years could be the final 50 feet of delivery. I like that very much, and that could be a great demo. I like that.
So welcome, Farzad. Earlier in the conversation, we were talking about, obviously, the 8.8 event, the compute not being constrained anymore, Elon saying that they're spending $10 billion, and then him pointing out that if in that chart of how many H100s, Tesla and XAI would be number 2, number 3, just this whole notion that perhaps we're no longer, that the Tesla AI and the compute that Tesla has is way more than people think, especially with the 6 billion target of 6 million miles of FSD driven. What's your thoughts on what you might see on 8.8?
Yeah, it's definitely fascinating times. If you've been following the story closely for a while, this is, when you saw that post go up, you're like, finally, finally something that's related to the story that of FSD that can get us really excited. I mean, I think what's interesting about the whole thing is that, my biggest question is, how is the current fleet going to fit in Tesla's goal of having a robotaxi network versus this sort of purpose-built robotaxi, which from the biography, I think looks like it's going to have some additional features that the current fleet is not going to have. That's going to complete it like a way. I remember there were passages about, the team was trying to figure out how it's going to have an arm to like punch in a code at a gate or something like that. Maybe some of the features that's going to allow it to go through, I don't know, places where you need a human to go through. I think the gate is really the only one that I can think of right now, but I'm sure there's other use cases. So I'm thinking about that, and then the third variable as well is the compact car. I.e., the way I think about it is the robotaxi, the drivable robotaxi, whatever that form factor is. It's going to be really exciting to see. I think, I don't know, the thing that I'm struggling with is I'm trying to figure out the timing of the release of the robotaxi versus this compact car. because I've read a lot of people are saying that some people are saying that this thing is going to go out before the compact car will, that they're going to because it's going to be in lower units that you're going to have to manufacture. Sorry, my dogs are losing their minds. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah.
Never happens in your spaces, just mine, Farzad. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, I'm here to derail everything. You're welcome. So the yeah, and this is where like I think the whole notion around the compact car being not like fully canceled doesn't make any sense to me, because I don't think it makes any sense to create, say, this Gen 3 platform, which is designed to be cranked out, millions of units per year at a fraction, 50% of the cost, 50% of the footprint. For you to really be able to leverage that line, you need to pump out millions of units per year, in my opinion. And if you're thinking about the current sort of fleet of Robotaxis you would need to realistically start making a dent into, say, Uber or Yellow Cab in New York, or public transportation or taxis in different cities in the U.S. Let's start. You don't need that many Robotaxis. You need maybe like, I don't know, 100,000, a couple 100,000, maybe 500,000. I don't even know what the number is, but it's not that many. And so that is like 1/4's worth of production of today's Tesla in Robotaxis. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I think it's in Tesla's best interest to still come out with a compact car that you can drive, that will be sold in every market possible. So not just the United States, Europe, China, try to get into South America, try to get into Africa, all these other places, so you can maximize the number of units that come out of this line. And then as the jurisdictions start turning on, uh, you know, self-driving. So let's say Orlando, SF, Austin, LA, San Diego, Phoenix, all these guys start turning it on. You're going to need 0.01% of that fleet to, or whatever the math is. 0.01 is probably too small, but you know what I'm saying, right? And then you start shifting the numbers over. And then as self-driving becomes more and more obviously the primary way to get around for let's say half of the population, say they don't have a need for a car in their garage and they just want to get from point A to point B, then the robotaxi becomes a no-brainer solution because they'll have by far the lowest cost per mile, right? And so what I want to hear on 8.8 is that plan. And I'm sure they're not going to talk about the compact car because that's going to Osborne the hell out of the Model 3. And it's in their best interest to keep quiet on that thing. And just once it's ready to go off the line, they put it up on the website. They're like, okay, order now, get it in a month or whatever, iPhone style. So you can mitigate the damage from that potentially. So I don't know. And I'm still sort of thinking through it. There's a lot of variables here to think through, but that's sort of what I'm looking forward to on 8.8.
So if I can just address a couple of things there, as I understand it, and I may be wrong, I think there are roughly 5 million vehicles that are in Uber, Lyft, taxi use in the United States today. But I think thinking that robotaxi is limited to vehicles that are currently, to the current size of the, rideshare taxi market, I think misses the point. As the current size of that market is driven by the fact that it costs about $3 a mile to get a ride. It's easy to see robotaxi delivering rides for $1 a mile, and not too much of a stretch to see 50 cents a mile. And Kathy Wood is talking, and Tasha Keeney, they're talking 25 cents a mile price for a ride. So as the price of a ride falls, the market expands and you need more vehicles. And there's a pretty sensitive point when you start approaching $1 a mile and you get down to 70 cents a mile. 70 cents a mile is what the average American spends on their car. There's a significant percentage of owners, drivers, whatever, who spend more than that. Let's say you've had 2 DUIs on your record, your insurance is more expensive. You have bad credit, your insurance is more expensive. Your car payments are more expensive because you have bad credit. So some people pay a lot more and you drive less miles, let's say. So as you bring the price down, you start to not only take out people who are, doing taxi rides, you start to get people who are saying, I don't want to own a car anymore. And if you eliminate, if you start going into car ownership, because, what did Elon say? We want to replace the global fleet. Now I'm talking about the US. Trying to do the same thing in a country like, that's where I'm in Thailand, is a lot harder because my cost of riding in a Grab is something like 70 cents a mile here in Thailand. It's about the same, maybe a little less in Malaysia, Vietnam, and I'm not sure what it is in the Philippines. And some of these countries have Grab Bike where you hop on the back of a motorcycle and it's half the cost of riding in a car. So getting the robo-taxi model to work in a country where the cost of a ride on the back of a motorcycle is, 30 cents a mile or something like that is going to be challenging. Um, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's going to be challenging to spread that, but I just think that the size of the future is all robotaxi. People aren't going to own cars. Rich people are going to own cars just like rich people own horses. But when you get to a world where it costs you less to ride in a robotaxi than it costs you to own a car, you're not going to own it. Most people are not going to own a car, and people discount this and they don't think about this. But ask yourself, this is just a thought question for anyone who's listening who owns a car. How much time do you spend a year on the burden of owning a car, on shopping for tires, on shopping for car insurance, on selling a car, on buying a car, on getting your driver's license, on arranging parking, replacing windshield wipers, replacing tires, all the things that go into owning a car? I ballpark it at 20 hours a year. Well, you save 20 hours a year. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I'd take an extra 20 hours a year if I could get it. So I think when you add all those things up and you just think about the pain points of owning a car, and like, I've been shopping for car insurance for my daughter. We just locked it in. Um, my daughter drives the Model 3 I got from Omar, the Elon signed Model 3. So, we got insurance for that. Well, there's a pain in the ass. So that's another. That's just, I'm paying $2,200 a year just on insurance for a college kid's car that drives like 5,000 miles a year. All this. How much does that add up to? Is that like that's like 40 cents a mile just for the car insurance?
Yeah, I 100% agree with your thesis long term for sure. Like, just call it 2035, 2040 onwards. It's hard to picture a world where everything, won't be a robo taxi, right? Because of exactly what you outlined. I think between now and then, there is a sort of, I view it as a transitionary period where, as either people become aware of the technology or become comfortable with sort of the value proposition of a robo taxi long term, there's still going to be a large swaths of the population that are either going to choose not to do that, or they won't be able to even get it in the jurisdiction because of governments, right? And so the way I think about it is twofold. So number one, if you think about Tesla right now, so Model 3, Model Y, Model S, Model X, Cybertruck, I think all of us on this call, most of us can agree that Tesla offers the best value for money for a car, period, right? Period. Like performance, comfort, luxury, feature set, safety, absolute freaking no brainer. I just test drove the Model 3 Highland today at my local Tesla store while I was getting my tires swapped. Okay, I can't believe that car is less than 40,000 starting. It's unbelievable value for money. How come everybody's not buying a Tesla, right? So, and I think that the answer is that there's always going to be, and I don't know how to quantify this. I mean, a lot of people think they can, but I think there's going to be always a transitionary period for any type of technology. And so that's number one. So just because Robotaxi can do that, I think it's going to take time for it to actually do that. And then number two, so LA, SF, Austin, San Diego, all these other places may very well start Robotaxi, allowing Tesla to run a Robotaxi fleet, let's say in the next 12 to 24 months if Tesla has the technology, right? But then you still you're going to have large parts of the, let's say the United States that are going to be very resistant to change. Like, for example, the NYC situation. Do you remember how tough of a time Uber had getting into a lot of those cities? I think something very similar is going to happen to Robotaxi technology, because that talk about disruption. Not only are the yellow cab guys getting destroyed, the Uber drivers are getting destroyed as well, right? And so you think about that in the United States, and then you think about South America, you think about Europe, you think about Africa, you think about China. You have some sort of combination of jurisdiction, and you need time to essentially study those areas and have enough Teslas there so you can have the data to feed the system, right? And that's going to get faster and faster over time. So over the long term, for sure, Tesla's core, let's say it's going to be, it's pretty easy to see that in 2035 onwards, Tesla's probably core mission is going to be to go all in on autonomy and all in on robotics, right? But until then, I think it behooves the company to still cater to the market that sees a really good value in a car that they can drive, that could also have the possibility to drive itself if they so choose. And so and that's why I think it's important for them to still release a compact car, because between now and then, if that Gen 3 platform is alive and they can leverage the lines to crank out cars, it's probably not going to be that hard to say once you reach, I don't know, 10 to 20 million cars per year, then you're like, okay, just remove steering wheel and pedal and add the arm, right? Then all of a sudden you have this giant manufacturing capacity to flood the world with these self-driving cars whose cost per mile might be 25 cents per mile, even less, right? And that's how I view the long-term strategy. But yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to hit on, first of all, I expect California, Texas, and Florida to, regulate in a regulatory sense, adopt robotaxi networks early. Nevada and those are the three largest states: California, Texas, and Florida. New York City gets a lot of attention, but New York hasn't been the largest state in a long time. So if California, Texas, and Florida, and throw in Nevada and Arizona and probably a few other states, you make it half the United States population open to robotaxi. But I think actually the bigger market is China. And, Elon, why is robotaxi event? Why does he keep talking about August 8th being lucky in China and the Year of the Dragon? There's some significance in China. If China adopts nationwide. There's no state governments or city governments that are going to be able to stop it if the Chinese government says we want this. So there's a huge potential market there. And as you I I wonder if Elon is like rethinking that. There was that stupid article in Reuters that said that the Model 2 is over. Um, if robotaxi works, you know, you make as many vehicles as you can make, and you put them in the market. And as you make enough vehicles, I don't think there's going to be people think there's going to be a problem with her. No one people will be afraid to get in a self-driving car. I don't think that's going to be a challenge at all. I think, I took, it depends on the people, right? So like teenagers, 24, 25-year-olds, they'll hop in without thinking about it. It's maybe the elderly will take a little longer, but my ex-wife's father at 90 finally got us an Android phone after, like, I don't know, 15 years after smartphones existed or something. But, a large number of people will, if you make the price, $2 a mile instead of $3 a mile, boy, a whole hell of a lot of people are going to choose that quickly. And again, the more vehicles it's just the getting to the point that Farzad said, that I agree with you, Farzad, is coming in the future at some point. The way you get there is making a ridiculously large volume of robo-taxis. And the key is, if you're going to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy, a robo-taxi replaces 5 internal combustion engine vehicles. A privately owned EV only replaces 1.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the cost per mile variable. If you think about, if you just take the United States as an example, right? The United States, half the country lives paycheck to paycheck, and if they have a $500 to $1,000 surprise, they're screwed, right? Most people in this country, and we're one of the, if not the wealthiest country on the planet, half of our population is still extremely price conscious. And if there is a solution out there that's going to solve one of humanity's largest needs, which is to get around, which is going to be a fraction of the cost and way safer and way more reliable and way more luxurious, because you have privacy and you have top of the line technology in the car, entertainment, comfort. Who wouldn't choose that, right? For sure, 100%. But I do think, in the same token, we should expect a period of time where the entrenched powers, the entrenched sort of industry that will be massively disrupted by this technology, they'll do everything they can to slow it down in some way. It's inevitable, but I do think it will take time for it to permeate everywhere. But I think what's going to become very obvious for people over time is that this is an absolute no-brainer, just like the smartphone was, just like computers were, just like the internet was, so on and so forth. It's too fundamental.
Yeah. So far as that, I earlier in the call, Larry and I were debating, and I was of the opinion, the opposite of you. I think you and Larry think that it's going to be the same vehicle or similar, right? It's a similar vehicle. I think it's going to be a completely different vehicle, because it's designed from first principles, autonomy first, right? and I just can't. Maybe I'll have the same, the same shell, and it'll be built on the same unboxed model, but the inside, the experience should be completely different than what we're expecting. Your argument, actually, that you're saying that there's not going to be that many robotaxis needed to be made, actually works on the other side too, which is, well, then that's why wouldn't they just create a separate line for that, and then you have the other one that's making massive amounts. It is the unbox model. That is why they're able to create separate lines, because it's not a line. Right? It's like just putting things, puzzle pieces together in different ways, and then you'll have a different experience inside. So I guess what is our definition of it being the same car and not the same car? And I think it would be a completely different interior and a completely different experience. The only argument that is making me rethink this is that people are telling me that, well, people like to face forward, and if they're facing sideways or backwards, they're going to get dizzy. But I do think that you should have swivel chairs. You can either sit across from each other, facing backwards from each other, and then you should have access to more screens. This whole thing is going to be about entertainment, productivity, and work. And I saw this one company, I can't remember what it was. Jeff and I did a video on it. Autoline interviewed this supply chain expert. They are the ones who provide the interiors for many cars, and they designed what it would be if it was a robotaxi. And what they did was they did not have any more steering wheel. You don't need that. But the steering wheel, just like in airlines, when you're sitting in the bulkhead seats, and then you don't have the ability to have your tray in front of you, it pulls out from the side arm, from the arm, and that's what they showed. They pull it out. Because you do that, you don't need to have all this mechanism for the seat. You don't need to be able to move it forward, don't need to move it up, backwards, because you don't need to position yourself better positioned to be, to have your right positioning for the steering wheel. In fact, your seat can be independent now, and then therefore you can swivel it. And then you have to start thinking, what is first principles for autonomy?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think defining, and this is what 8.8 is going to be so interesting, right? Because we're going to get a very full understanding of, is Gen 3 what is Gen 3 exactly, right? And so in my head, again, so if my thesis is the one that makes sense, let's say, which is probably not, but let's just assume it is, as my dog loses her mind in the background. I'm sorry, guys. Oh my god. So one of the way I think about it is that how am I the one going outside and my dogs are inside? This is crazy. So the way I think about it is the first principles thought process of how to define a robotaxi makes a ton of sense to me. But I think to take it even further, I think it's in Tesla's best interest to take whatever this platform is, in my opinion, and offload the outfitting of the robotaxi onto fleet providers. So like for example, Airbus and Boeing, as an example, they're airplane manufacturers, right? And they make the shell, they make the plane, they make this sort of groundbreaking technology that gets people in the air, which is still blows my mind to this day that airplanes exist. But that's their breakthrough, right? But they're not the ones that are outfitting the interior. They're just giving it to Virgin, Southwest, Delta, United, so on and so forth, right? And they're the ones that figure out how to make the inside work. That's how I view Robotaxi. I think if you really want to get to a point where you can shift your manufacturing capacity from, let's say, a compact car with an interior that Tesla has managed to a robotaxi that is fully customizable, you give it to a bunch of fleet providers, and then those fleet providers figure out how to make the inside, and they can make decisions with with the seats. They can make decisions with the screen. They can make decisions with the arm. They can make decisions with the TVs, the screens, so on and so forth. And then they're the ones that are responsible for the upkeep, the maintenance, and everything. And if they want to operate in the robotaxi network, what they do is they basically, I don't know if they pay like a token fee or they pay an upfront cost, and then Tesla takes a cut, or maybe Tesla can take a bigger cut if they don't want to pay the upfront fee. Whatever it is, you pay a toll to Tesla to enter their fleet. And then Tesla has this rule that says only Tesla robotaxis can operate on our fleet. But any of us could buy a robotaxi from Tesla and outfit it however we want. Maybe Herbert wants like a entertainment robotaxi. Maybe I want like a commuter robotaxi, right? You start creating these like very individual use cases for people that would be looking to, you know, rent a taxi essentially, kind of like how people rent a limo for prom. But if I'm trying to go to the airport, I'm just calling a freaking Uber, right? And then that's how you start customizing this thing. And then this way, Tesla can just literally, when they shift production over, they can just take everything out of the inside, make manufacturing even simpler, and just give the shell to freaking everybody, give them the specs on how to outfit it, and let them figure it out. That's how I picture Robotaxi. I could be wrong, but that is my vision for Robotaxi.
I hate dead airspace, so I want to say something real quick. As far as the rear facing and forward facing, I'm old enough that I used to ride in a lot of checker cabs when I was a kid. They had rear facing seats. None of us died from it. I'm still here. So I kind of like that configuration like a Canoe has. And that's to your point, Farzad, where you can have a different configuration based on your needs. Maybe for some reason, they all need to be forward facing. Maybe for, and I like the minivan version idea, you have like more of a little living room environment. I just wanted to say that. Sorry.
Yeah, I still don't think so. I mean, far as that, I like that, but you know, Tesla is the most vertically integrated company. They're not going to hand off this. You know, you might be able to order it and configure it within Tesla's website. They'll deliver it as such.
I disagree, though. I think they're vertically integrated, and what vertical integration means is simplification more than anything.
True.
And so when you're taking, like, let's say you run your, and I know like Tesla has said in the past that in places where, you know, there are enough robotaxis in a region, we will add robotaxis to the region. But when there are enough robotaxis in the region, they're not going to add robotaxis to the region. So like we read it right in the master plan part 2. In my opinion, the indication there is that they are not willing to sort of run their own fleet. They'll sell their robotaxis gladly, and they'll charge a fee if you want to add it to their network, which is basically an Uber without a driver. But I really don't think they want to take that on, because that's going to add a lot of complexity. Then you got to add, then now you have to essentially deal, and I say deal loosely, but it's true. You have to deal with the customer that is going to use a low cost, a low dollar per minute sort of thing that is going to really broaden the pool of people you're going to have to deal with. And then Tesla essentially has to create a Uber arm that is much more centered around taking care of the customer, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But Tesla's core expertise, in my opinion, is just making really great technology that just works, right? Even in Robotaxi, you're going to have a lot of issues because people are going to be freaking thrown up in the car. They're going to be trashing the car. They're going to be, you know, they're going to be all kinds of things. You don't have a person there to like ensure that nothing bad happens. So,
no,
like,
for sure. I mean, Elon has said that they're going to do. They need to have fleet managers, shepherds, right? But to have them to configure it, yeah, I guess so.
Guys, you're kind of ignoring one simple fact. Tesla is a business. They have to earn income. They have to sell cars. Yes, they're going to become a robotaxi business in due course. A business like that takes years to start and get operational, even if it's got this incredible TAM and that it's going to earn trillions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. They've still got to get there. Between then and now, they've got to earn cash in order to make that business happen. To do that, they've got to sell cars. You guys are, I mean, sit down with a spreadsheet and just see what happens if you try and sell a robotaxi to the 3 or 4 areas that will actually allow you to use them, and see what it takes to build out that network and start getting cash flow in. And then look at the rest of the business. This is not real, what you guys are talking about. I mean,
Larry, just look at Canoe.
well, I don't have to look at Canoe because they're pretty much close to gone. I mean, that's the point. You've got to make a business out of it. And right now, the business is selling cars, and they're needing a large TAM vehicle to fill the capacity, to fill the gap that they have in the marketplace, and that is the Model 2 or whatever you want to call it. Now, you may have a different inside, you may have a different finish, you may have different configuration internally, but it's still the same vehicle. It's still on the same platform. It may even have a different battery pack. I don't care. But you cannot sell just a robotaxi because a robotaxi business is a business, and you've heard, some debate about how the business will start and how the business will build. But I've got news for you. It's a 2 to 3 year cycle to get it to cash flow positive.
Who's saying that we weren't going to sell the compact car?
Yeah, I'm not saying that, Larry. I'm saying they sell
I didn't
both.
either.
No. That Herbert, that was the conversation, that they're going to release the Robotaxi first and not going to release the Model 2 at the same time. And I'm saying that it's, yeah.
No, I agree with you. I don't think I said that. What our bet was whether or not the Model 2 and the Robotaxi are going to be the same car.
And if they're not the same, when you say the same car, I'm not sure what you're talking about. They're going to be variants on the same platform. It's the same platform. It's just the internals of the car, the internal finish of the car, exactly as far as I said, is going to be different. Now, whether Tesla makes it or a third party makes it, it's just going to be the same car, the same drivetrain, the same battery pack, the same front casting, same rear casting, the same body for that matter.
Well, so I agreed to everything you just said, but earlier you were saying, or some people were saying, that it's just a matter of removing the steering wheel and brakes, and I'm saying no. This is going to be first principles designed autonomy first. It's not. It's going to be way more than that.
That may be, but I promise you this: the first car out of the factory, the first cars to be delivered en masse are going to be the Model 2, because Tesla desperately needs the cash flow. If you think that Tesla doesn't need the cash flow, check.
No, they need the cash flow. They need the cash flow. They're going to need to do the compact car. I agree with you. It's just that you're saying that when we see the Robotaxi unveil, they're not going to show you the Model 2 compact, the compact car, but you're going to tell me that that's basically it. That's what it is.
No, I think there'll be two models up there, and they'll have the same exterior. They'll have the same exterior. They may have a different interior.
Wait, you think that on August 8th, they're going to actually show you the compact car?
Absolutely.
No.
And if they don't, it'll be a serious strategic error.
Okay, I think, Larry, you're the only one who said that so far. I think everybody agrees. Anybody else on the panel who thinks that?
Well, I want to know why he thinks it would be a serious error.
Because the business demands, needs, and requires a mass production or a mass TAM car much sooner than it requires a robotaxi.
So I agree with you there. But do you agree that them not showing the compact car at the unveil automatically means that they're not going to build it? Because my thesis
no,
is that
it doesn't mean that, Fazad, but it does mean that Wall Street will mark the stock down 20%, because it'll be a signal to say it's going to be a signal. And the Wall Street Journal the next morning will have in large headlines, Tesla delays Model 2.
But when has the company ever operated in a way that caters to what the media is going to say about what their plans are, right? Because I think the way I think about it, one second, Larry. So the way I think about it is if they do announce it, right, and they don't have it ready to ship, let's say within a couple months, that's going to create a, let's say, I don't know, 5 million order backlog. And you're going to be catering to a customer base that is going to be a lot less patient about any delays than, let's say, your Model Y, Model S, Model X customer base. So to me, it's like, I feel like Tesla announcing, let's say they do announce a compact car at the 8.8, then in my head, I'm like, oh shit, this thing's coming out in like by the end of the year maximum, right? That's what that signal sends me. If they don't announce it, then what that tells me is like, okay, they're not ready to show it yet, but once they're ready, they're gonna just throw it up on the website and just have it first come, first serve. Because having I feel like announcing that car ahead of time is going to have such a huge line that it doesn't make any sense for them to take any pre-orders. Just open the freaking website and have people order it, you know?
I
Hello?
totally agree. We need that little compact car now. I am waiting to buy that compact car. I'm not wealthy, but I want my Tesla and I want my little inexpensive compact car. And so do a hell of a lot of people. And Adrian, quit laughing.
Adrian, do you want to join in?
So it's not what you said, it's how you said it.
Any comments, Adrian?
That's what they say about me.
I hope Larry's not mad at me.
No, he's not. We'll talk about you at our next show, Larry. We'll talk about him. Okay. Let's go. We're going to go ahead and close down the space. Thank you very much. Please follow all the speakers. We do this every, today? Tuesday. Appreciate everybody. Sorry, JP, couldn't bring you up. We're about to close down. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.